Nice. Okay. Okay. Sure. Hello. Hey everyone. Welcome to the webinar. What we'll be doing in this session is that I'll go through a case study of a branding and marketing case study of a Web3 company, which is Internet of Mobility Web3, and the company's name itself is Internet of Mobility. It's one of those stages when you can literally name your company based on uh, a thing. It's like Cola naming themselves Cola because they started out quite early. They had one of those advantages. Uh, so yeah, that's pretty much what the thing is. I guess I'll start. First, let's go through the yeah. First, I'll go through the case study itself. Tell you how I got the client, a basic intro of the client, how I did all the things I did, the design decisions we made, etc. After that, I'll go through some of my favorite design files and how I created them. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll guess let's start. Oh, I almost forgot. Sorry. I'm Aditya, and I I am primarily a brand designer. Other than that, I run a tiny branding agency called XAXs Corps. And yeah, our focus is in branding. My focus is in branding, but since branding is multifaceted, it includes quite other fields as well, and I also have quite a bit of hobby. But for this context, I'm a brand designer. Yeah. So the company is IOM, and IOM literally stands for Internet of Mobility. And so I'll start with some basics. It, as you have expected, it's a Web3 company, and Internet of Mobility is similar to Internet of Things. It's like a network of mobile. By mobile, it means automobile and those kind of mobility, not mobile phone. It's a network of that connected to each other by blockchain, which is where the Web3 element comes in. And with they have a core focus on the American market, Latin America, and Europe. And they also are focused in the sustainability space. So how the sustainability comes up is by connecting different forms of mobility under one platform. They let you adhere to different types of transportation based on public transport, etc. Especially the public transport where more than one person can travel on one platform, on one transportation. By that, you're cutting carbon emission quite a bit, just like how having 70 people travel by bus is a lot more eco-friendly, even if that is not an electric bus, compared to 70 cars running on the street. Same concept. But you need to know how to get that. That's where their network of mobility or Internet of Mobility comes in. Their primary focus of channel was Twitter, and which is not surprising. The Web3 segment kind of grew up on Twitter before the whole downfall of Twitter happened, and they moved on to other platforms. But it was of that period when the Web3 environment was on the rise in Twitter before, and it was still Twitter back then. But so yeah, that was their focus, and what I developed was the post overall brand, the whole brand language, icon set, and everything related. Uh, I personally did not design the brand guide for them. I was working under a different agency back then. The uh, other member designed a brand guide, but I followed and expanded on that. And as you can understand, it has two target audience. Firstly, someone needs to be somewhat of tech savvy enough to understand Web3. You don't exactly need to understand Web3 to adhere to the service. You just need to be able to use it. Like you don't exactly understand how internet works, but you we know how to use it. That's how we are here in this online session. Similar concept. And yeah, keywords are pretty related to that. We'll start with the brand palette because that's pretty much the first thing. One of the first things you need to design, you need to shortlist to give a feel of a brand. The whole concept of branding and marketing associated to that is forming a bit of connection, a bit of recognizability, and whole system. That the ideal goal is that people can recognize you even if you don't put your logo. For example, if you think red, half of us maybe think Coke. Uh, Blue is a much more difficult to own though. But yeah, so that's where the brand palette came in. Now there are three core colors here. Since they are a techie brand, usually black was used as the background for most things to give the deep tech vibe. And since they are have a connection to sustainability, hence are pretty obvious that green needs to be there as a secondary color. And to once again play on the technical field of the whole vision, there's a gradient, and then there's blue as another secondary color to address to places where green is not the right place, because even if a company is sustainable focus, not everything is sustainable. Something is a little towards the techie side and something is a little towards the sustainability side, and that's where the two different secondary colors come. So as I said, the main focus was Twitter, and Twitter, as you know, has a wider aspect ratio as the ideal aspect ratio for the creatives. It's a bit uncommon because when you compare to any other social media, the primary go-to aspect ratio is 1:1, and yeah, but for Twitter, it's 4:3, and we designed a few different kind of creatives to target few different kind of needs. One of them was thematic, to announce something, to make something, uh, something related to festival and stuff like that. So they looked a bit not that uniform compared to other group of creatives because, as I said, they were thematic. Not everything is same. And even if you're designing for one single brand, you don't just need to look like the brand, you also need the creative to have a feel of the theme it is based on. That was this set. Then, yeah, this is how the overall look was. Some of my favorite creatives. I'll get into the file of this specific creative later. The typeface was Inter. Inter is a sans serif, and as I said, the brand is a tech-focused brand. So most of the communication around the brand is digital. Hence, the choice is Inter, which is a digital native typeface. It's coldly designed. I forgot the name of the guy who designed it, but the Inter was basically designed to make it screen friendly, UI friendly, and that's something is a good match for a tech focused brand. And as I said, although the brand is tech focused, it's not too deep. So it doesn't need to look too different, too techy. It just needs to look good on tech and yet be a bit accessible because it's still a consumer focused brand. It's not that niche down. So Inter and overall sans serif was a good choice for that. Then came some more brand specific posts, which are about the brand announcements, some update, and some value based creatives, values that the brand is associated with. And as you can see, they look a lot more similar to each other compared to the thematic posts because these were the more common type of posts. The core focus of this post was brand building, not announcing something, not addressing some theme, not exactly jumping to trend. This is the core set of creatives, and if you notice them, you will find that the typography, some few elements, few patterns are constantly repeating, and repetition of those patterns are important for branding because it's those tiny repetitions that forms a connection between the brand and the audience. And once again, I'll go into the files of some of these creatives. letters. Some of my favorite posters. This was the set of icons. Uh, the reason behind having a set of iconography for a brand, irrespective of it is a tech brand or not, is that icon is something that you use a lot, and if there's something that you use again and again, if you have a library of that, it serves two purposes. Helps you build the connection better because you're using the tools from the same library, the whole concept of design system. And the second thing is, since you are not going out and finding elements to work with again and again, you are saving a lot of time in the long run. Uh, these icons were not exactly built from scratch. I brought up one icon library and few other things depending on needs. The vehicles you are seeing are from a library, but even if you're using a icon library, it's important that you don't use it just as it is. Play with it a little, make it a little more brand friendly, make it a little more closer to the brand you're using the icons for. Those are the tiny things that matter. The whole point of having an icon library is for things to look connected to each other, look similar to each other. But if you build an icon library where all the icons look different from each other, it's completely ruins the purpose. So it's a bit easier if you convert one existing icon library to your brand. It's a little more difficult when you're sourcing different icons from different places and then converting them in the brand language you're designing for. But it's something that you really need to do. I will get into the files of this as well later. Since it was a global brand, global as in, the internet, the whole appeal of internet of mobility that they were going with is that every vehicle, irrespective of where you are, what vehicle you are looking for, what service provider you are looking for, would be connected under one place. That was the whole appeal. Because otherwise, we have in India, like I live in India, so here the popular apps are Ola, Uber, then there's Rapido. Then Ola and Uber is mostly used for cabs and auto rickshaws, while Rapido is mostly used for two-wheelers. Then there is Blue, which is mostly used for uh, electric cars. And if you go out in another country, you will find that the system is completely different there. So every time you go here and there, you need a different application, a different platform. But what if you had one application that connects you to the sub applications and you can book different things from different service providers under one roof? That was the thing. So they had a global audience and they did actually expand to quite a few countries. Hence, a type of post that we would do was celebrate Independence Day or important days of different countries. That the whole concept, connecting to your global audience. And if you look at the independence creatives, once again, you will find a specific style, few specific repeating patterns, and few eccentric circles. The eccentric circle has a concept. It's similar to how network works, and IOM is basically a network. So it's forming that connection. And of course, it uses the brand typography and colors. Those are, of course, given. This was the brand guide that that the agency as a whole developed. Uh, a little introduction. You can see that this is the logo. This is the gradient that we're using. These shapes are something that you might have noticed repeating on the platform, and this style of typography, some big text, some small, some highlight. So those repeating patterns forms the connection. This is how the typography was mostly used, and three different fonts of Inter from the Inter type family: bold, regular, and medium. We did not use italics anywhere. We did not deviate from that. Once again, choose patterns that work and repeat those patterns. So this is the uh, original brand palette that they had, something I expanded from and into, added some more accent colors and all as it was needed. You will find these three, this, and this here, and these are the two I brought up later to fit needs and made it part of the brand. These were the different labels of contrast that we used. It doesn't explain much here, but it came up in later phases. And circles are something that we used a lot uh, for two reasons. Circle is something connected to connectivity, and of course, images of transportation. A little example of how the typography worked once again. And yep, that was it. Uh, if you can see, it has one background, and this is part of a different library, but together they become brand specific, similar to this. You can see they look pretty similar because they are from a similar icon library. Different vehicles to denote different transportation that were connected under one single roof, which was pretty much the base. And for few specific icons which did not fit within the vehicle, I brought up a different kind of style. Instead of having the whole circle as a gradient, I moved on to black as the gradient. And to bring the gradient in, the core body had a gradient instead, and there was a gradient map border. While, while these were from one uniform library, these were not, but they have been modified in a way that they fit together, which is how branding works. Firstly, let's glance through them a bit so that you'll find that the patterns are repeating. Same logo position, same typeface, same color patterns, a little touch of the brand colors in the background through gradient map. Black, so give that, deep tech vibe. We went through these icons. These are made on Illustrator, and the posters were done in Photoshop. I personally prefer Illustrator for posters as well, but since I was working in a team, and in that team, Photoshop was the go-to platform, and I needed to maintain that. For black, for dark backgrounds, you can see that we are using the logo with the brand gradient, while in images that would not work. So it was either black or white, which is kind of why you should have a monochrome version of your logo that you were designing for your clients for reasons like this. Once again, the circles are repeating, same icons, same gradient, same CTA, same location of the logo. Circles repeating, the gradient repeating, same location of logo, colors, CTAs. Not exactly CTA. Sometimes they're CTA, sometimes they're just highlights. In this case, China is not a CTA, it's a highlight. While in this case also it's a highlight. But in some cases that is used as a CTA. And yep, once again, brought in the gradient. In this case, since the background was dark enough, the logo would have was used with the gradient and it worked out. If it didn't, then I would have used it in white. So the whole network concept, and even when in the network concept we are not using icons, the people to denote networks are still used in the brand style of circles, which is a circle with the gradient as the outline. Once again, forming that recall, forming that connection between the creatives, so that it forms one uniform brand language. The You see, branding is not something that exist in silo. It exists in a whole connection between everything the brand touches, the whole different touch points working together. That's how the brand language, the design system works. And yeah, just another example with a different background. Uh, let's break down this one. So you can see that uh, it's an announcement. It was a post for their announcement of Discord server, which once again is a common community place. And since Web3 is quite community driven, Discord is one of the common platforms they exist in. We did not have to create different I creatives for Discord. We would use the Twitter creatives. Discord supports quite a wide range of aspect ratios, so it didn't need rearranging the aspect ratio. And this was for to announce the Discord server. And of course, there is the logo. It I had set it up with the color overlays depending on the need so that I don't have to redo everything. So if I did color overlays, it could have been black. Drop shadow for different specific places, not in this creative. And so when it came to the take, I also had the gradient ready, which is this, but it does not work for this creative. So of course it's hidden, but you can see if you set up the layers properly, you don't have to start from scratch every time. So arrange your layers a bit, name them right. It might feel like extra work first time, but it helps you out a lot in the long run. So this is the highlight creative, and one hack I used was just add a color overlay so that I didn't need different color of rectangles. Without the color overlay is blue, with the color overlay is green. Simple. And since it is talking about green mobility, the color we're going with is the brand's green color. And yeah, so to give this effect in the image, it has it actually has different segments. This was the original image, but broke it down by using masking. Then there is another which is still the background. Use some marks on it to fill it look like a fox so that we can use the hills behind. The this Okay, this by the way is the same single image that I broke into and divided it in a way. And the Discord is yeah, the Discord logo is directly taken from Illustrator and linked here as a smart object. Okay, let's move on to next one. Uh, this has a lot of elements that I designed in Illustrator because it's using a lot of vectors, and Illustrator is a much better platform to work with vectors. But the final composition is done in Photoshop because that was the go-to platform for the team. And when you're working in the team, you have to keep in mind that other teammates should also be able to work on your files when needed. So something that's a compromise you need to make once in a while. You can see the layers are set up in a very similar way. There are a lot of layers hidden. They are hidden because the goal is that I can use them in the next creative if I need them, instead of creating the layer of phrase. I can just hide the layer wherever not needed, which is, for example, in this case. I showed you the drop shadow. I'm using it here because to fill these lines. Instead of cutting this line, I'm just using a very hard drop shadow that's giving the false sense of them disappearing. Life hacks. This is a shape just like the other shape. It is a shape that has been uh, filled onto the text. Like this is the shape, and it's filled onto the text. So that's how it works. This is the text. This is the shape. This doesn't have any CTA, so you cannot or highlight. So there is no shape rectangle being used, colored rectangles that you saw on some of the other creatives. But yeah, but it still feels like iron due to the color of the lines, the color of the outlines, and this typography and this gradient. This is one of my favorite creatives. I worked on them for this. Okay, so this actually is an image. Let me hide this, and let me hide this as well. This is the image. Now the sky is not serving any purpose, so I used a mask to hide the sky, and but the hill, yeah, the mountain range is not in the right color, so I used a black and white gradient map to firstly remove the colors. Then I used a brand specific gradient map to give this tint, which is a similar feel of this. And then I just create a layer that I browsed out with white on the person to make him not camouflage. The thing that this creative is serving is this person is hiking, which is a touch to both transportation. Walking is also a form of transportation, by the way, not a vehicle, but a mode of transportation. And since he is walking instead of doing something that emits carbon, so it's also a touch of sustainability, which is green mobility. And as you can see, the core of the creative is 33% uh, growth. I keep forgetting the full form of this, but and that's a 30% angle on a bar graph. And this is not exactly a bar graph, but it's also has the 30% angle to it, and that's the connection. It's not that complicated when you break it down. You just need to know how to make those tiny different elements work together. That's pretty much what we do as brand designers. Coming to another favorite creative of mine, this has a few things. I'll not go through the same layer format again because I just went through that. This is an image. Okay, this is the image. Since they are a mobility company, so the road is a huge indication to the whole mobility concept, moving concept. And it's a wall smile there, so smile. And this part of the road, this curve of the road, kind of looks similar to how emojis have a huge smile. So that was a concept brought in an emoji. Uh, yeah, made the color more different, made it to hard light so that it blends in better with the background, and then just use the mask to make the road over it. Pretty simple, but it works. And for that, there is a bit of hard shadow to differentiate it from the background. Same with the logo, I think. Acha, no, it doesn't have that because this part was already dark. Uh, this is pretty obvious, and you can see that this circle is returning, which is this circle. Yeah, these circles are a common element. So to form with the map is also formed in a circle instead of the square format. A gradient call out to the map, and the whole uh, this is Great Wall of China, obviously. Like, who doesn't know that? You think of China, you think of Great Wall of China, and the whole group has a mask so that it blends in with the map. Yep. One second. As I said, repeating patterns. You can see those circles are again repeating. Uh, I just showed you where those icons are from. They're part of the icon library I created. This is a stock photo with the background removed. And the active parts of the circle are connected with the gradient, while the inactive parts are using as background elements in a subdued, lower opacity format. Pretty simple, but connected. This I think is using drop shadow. Okay, it's not because it's not needed. One second. Circles, turns, and yeah, using the green color for green mobility because the name says. While here we're using the blue because we're talking about incentives. Pretty similar concept directly from the icon library. And yeah, as simple as that. This has a few extra elements. This has been modified a bit with the brand gradient. So this is the original creative photo, sorry, not creative. This has been divided into two parts, one the foreground, which is the guy, and the other is the background, which is rest of the photo. To achieve this, there's a gradient map to bring out the brighter colors. I like using gradient maps a lot because that helps you create a duotone. You saw those colors in the brand palette, pretty simple. It's directly normal. That's how it usually works with. And this is a screenshot. It's directly a screenshot. Yeah, this is the screenshot. It is from the application that they developed. It's the application called Wheelcoin. And that's a different story, but it's directly a screenshot from the application. And this is connected by using just basic lines. Is as simple as that. And here gives you a good idea of the difference in color. The moving green is highlighted using the green color for sustainability, while the move to on part is highlighted using the blue to give the idea of the take side of it and the incentive side of it. I'll say those were the main unique creatives that I worked on. Others were quite similar to that. I'll say we can. Web3 is not that complicated. The main difference that Web3 and Web2, the web we mostly use, is the difference in how the connection and centralization works. In Web2, which is this one, we are mainly dependent on large scale internet service provider, social media platform, which is one platform. Everything is owned by the platform, no matter what ports like what content you give, even if it's user generated content, which is the core differentiation between wave 1 and wave 2. The content is not owned by the creator of the content. It's ultimately dependent on the platform. While in wave 3, the person creating the content has a more control over the content. And the other thing is how they are connected to each other, which is the proof of trust, the whole blockchain network thing. That's the other differentiator between wave 2 and wave 3. Those are the core things. And if you want to dig deeper, there's a lot to see how the encryption system works, how the nodal system works, which is the behind the BTS of blockchain, how cryptos work, which are connected to blockchain. Those are deeper concepts, but the basic difference between wave 2 and wave 3 is just that. And coming to Internet of Mobility, I hope you understand that better now that I have explained. It's very similar to Internet of Things, which is IoT. Just replace things, which is devices usually in your home, and put vehicles there. Then it's Internet of Mobility. It's really as simple. If you relate the thing to something it works similar to as, it's usually pretty easy to understand. Analogies are great tools for learning. Uh, Maybe we can move towards the ending of it. Firstly, thanks for being here on a. I hope this helps out a bit. And if you have more questions regarding to it, the case study is live on VMs, and you can DM me on socials. I am also available as a mentor on EDP. Pretty much, pretty much, is branding is not that difficult. Just break it down into smaller components, work towards connecting them together, and that's the core ideology of branding. But thanks again for being here. Uh, I'll see you soon on the next session, next video, next video question stuff. And till then, keep creating, start exploring, work on things you like, and stay above the crowd. Till then, bye bye.